Okay, so before we get into the details, you have to start with the sound. Just imagine the noise first.
It's a wall of sound.
It is. It's not just city noise. We're talking about Fifth Avenue in New York City. It's March 17th, St. Patrick's Day.
Which is an entirely different level of chaos.
Exactly. I mean, if you've never been there for it, it's almost impossible to describe the sheer, the density of it all.
It's visceral.
Yeah.
The entire city just sort of surrenders to it for the day. The normal rhythm is gone.
Totally gone. You've got bagpipes just screaming over the traffic. You can smell, roasted nuts and spilled beer. And this endless sea of green, just miles of it.
It's a party, for sure, but there's a real edge to it. Over 1 million spectators crammed onto the sidewalks, hanging out of windows. It's not a calm celebration.
No, it's aggressive. It's loud. And you're right about that chaos because it creates a kind of sensory camouflage.
Yeah, that's a great way to put it. It's an overload. If everyone is yelling, you're not going to hear a whisper. If everyone is looking at the parade floats, nobody's watching the shadows.
And right there, in the absolute heart of this madness, like the eye of a hurricane, you have St. Patrick's Cathedral.
An absolute beast of a building. Gothic revival, it takes up a whole city block.
It's supposed to be this icon of peace, a sanctuary. But in the source material we're looking at today, Nelson DeMille's Cathedral, that building stops being a church. It becomes a cage.
It becomes a fortress. I mean, that's the thing about cathedrals, right? We see them as these spiritual places. But if you actually look at the architecture, the blueprints,
Or castles.
they're medieval castles. You've got these incredibly thick stone walls. You have natural choke points. You've got high towers for observation. DeMille just takes that reality and weaponizes it. This book isn't just a thriller. It's practically a siege manual.
So let's lay out the scenario. We're about to ruin everyone's St. Patrick's Day. It's the middle of the parade. High Mass is just finishing up inside the cathedral. The pews are packed. And that's when a group, calling themselves the Fenians, makes its move. But this isn't, a bunch of guys in ski masks running in and screaming. It's not a bank robbery.
No, this is a military operation.
Yeah.
It's cold, it's precise, and it's just terrifyingly well rehearsed. In what feels like seconds, they seize the entire building. They lock these enormous bronze doors.
Which we have to talk about. The doors are basically a character in the book.
They really are. And they take hostages, but not just any hostages. They've been very, very selective. They managed to secure a specific high-value group of people right there in the sanctuary.
The guest list is just unbelievable. You got the Cardinal, of course. He's there.
The main prize.
Then you have Sir Harold Baxter, who is the British Consul General. So right away, boom, you have a massive international diplomatic crisis.
The political target. The symbol of the enemy.
You've got a local priest, Father Timothy Murphy, who stays behind. And then you have the real twist. Maureen Malone.
Maureen is the absolute key to the entire thing. She's the psychological core of this siege. Without her, this is just, a standard terrorist event, bad guys holding a building.
Right.
But with her in that room, it becomes a tragedy. She's a former IRA activist. She's left that life of violence. She's trying to work for peace, for amnesty.
And the man leading this whole takeover, the one with the gun.
That's Brian Flynn, her ex-lover.
Talk about a bad breakup.
I mean, it is catastrophic. It's beyond that. Flynn has even taken on this new persona. He's calling himself Finn McCumail, after a legendary Irish warrior. So you have this collision. It's political, the British government versus Irish rebels, but it is so deeply, deeply personal.
He isn't just holding a building hostage.
He's holding her hostage. He's essentially trying to force a reconciliation at gunpoint with the entire world watching on television.
Okay, so that's our mission for this deep dive. I really want to strip this whole thing down. I want to understand the mechanics. How do you actually take over a building that size in the middle of the busiest city on Earth during its busiest day?
The logistics are incredible.
And we need to look at the cast of characters. The Angel of Death sniper in the choir loft, the old-school revolutionary rigging explosives to the doors, the whole crew. And most importantly, we have to figure out the why. Because the road to Fifth Avenue didn't start in New York. It started years before in a dark, wet crypt in Northern Ireland.
That's exactly right. To understand the violence in that cathedral, you have to understand the betrayal that happened in Belfast. The entire psychology of the siege was forged in the dark, underground, long before a single shot was ever fired in Manhattan.
So let's go there. Let's leave the noise of the parade behind for a minute and go back 4 years. We're in Northern Ireland. It's raining.
Of course it's raining.
Of course it is. And Brian Flynn and Maureen Malone are on the run.
And they are desperate. This is the Whitehorn Abbey incident, and it is the moment that changes everything for them. They had just mounted this attempt to break Maureen's sister, Sheila, out of British custody.
And it went badly.
A complete disaster. The plan fell apart, people died, and Maureen was shot. She took a bullet in the breast. So she's bleeding, she's feverish, and they have half the British army hunting them through the countryside.
And they find their way to this ruin, Whitehorn Abbey. It sounds like something straight out of a Gothic horror story. They end up hiding in the crypt, right under the altar.
The setting here is just so important. It's not just a basement. The priest who helps them, an old man named Father Donnelly, he explains the history of the ground they're lying on. He tells them the abbey was built on the ruins of something called a Brudian.
A Brudian. I had to look this up. It's such a specific ancient concept. It's a Celtic thing, right?
It is. A very old Irish institution. A Brudian was a house of hostages, or a kind of public hostel. It was a six-sided building, always place where six roads met.
And it had all these rules.
Very specific rules. The doors could never be locked. There always had to be food on the fire for travelers. But the most important rule, the one that matters here, was the rule of sanctuary. If a fugitive, even a murderer, could make it inside a Brudian, they were safe. The king's law couldn't touch them. It was a sacred, neutral space.
Wow. So you've got Flynn lying in the dirt. He can hear the helicopters overhead. And he's hearing this story about an ancient place where no one can touch you.
And it sinks into him. It intoxicates him. You have to remember, this guy's already radicalized. He's already deep in the movement.
Yeah.
But in that crypt, something shifts. He starts to merge his own political struggle with this grand mythological past.
He gets obsessed.
Completely obsessed with the idea of the sanctuary. A place where he is the master, where the outside world has to stop at the door. He starts to see the church not as a place of worship, but as a strategic strongpoint, a fortress, a Brudian.
And then he finds the ring.
This is the moment. This is where Brian Flynn dies and Finn McCumell is born. There's an old chest of relics in the crypt. Flynn starts digging through it, and he pulls out this massive ancient ring. It's green with age, verdigris all over it. It's got this crude face carved into it, like a warrior king.
It sounds like something out of Tolkien. It has this immediate pull on him.
It really does. The book describes this visceral physical reaction when he puts it on. He almost blacks out. He says he can feel the weight of centuries of violence in the metal.
And the priest, Father Donnelly, he speculates it could be a Fenian ring.
Maybe even belonging to Finn McCumell himself.
Yeah.
And Flynn just absorbs that. He takes it as gospel. He looks at Maureen, who's lying there bleeding, and he tells her he's taking the name. He is Finn McCumell now.
It's a complete psychotic break, isn't it? He's no longer Brian Flynn, the guy who just botched a prison break. He's a mythical hero reborn.
It's narcissism that's been weaponized by history. He genuinely believes he's the reincarnation of the warrior spirit of Ireland. And all the while, Maureen is watching this happen with absolute horror.
She's in physical pain, but this has to be worse.
Oh, much worse. She's realizing that Flynn is gone. The man she loved is being completely consumed and replaced by this megalomaniac, this fanatic.
And that's the split. That's the fork in the road for both of them.
It's the exact point of divergence. Maureen sees that the violence is just a loop. The old IRA motto was, once in, never out. But she wants out. She wants to live. She wants peace. She wants amnesty.
But Flynn goes the other way.
He doubles down. He decides the IRA isn't violent enough. He sees their structure as too political, too bureaucratic, too soft. So when they finally escape Ireland, they go in opposite directions. Maureen heads to Dublin to work for peace initiatives.
And Flynn forms the Fenians.
A group designed to be the extremists of the extremists.
Right, a splinter group.
A small, tight, absolutely ruthless cell of people willing to do things that even the provisional IRA would say is going too far. And you get the sense he builds this group not just to fight the British, but to prove a point directly to Maureen.
He's trying to win an argument with her.
Or win her back. He wants to show her that his way, the way of the warrior king, is the only true way. It's so possessive. It's like he's willing to burn the entire world down just to get her back.
Yep. But there's a ghost in the machine here. A puppet master in the shadows that we have to talk about. We can't really understand Flynn without understanding Major Bartholomew Martin.
Major Martin is one of the most cynical, calculating characters in modern fiction. He's British intelligence. And we learned this this shocking detail later in the book.
He caught Flynn?
He did. After the Abbey incident, Martin's unit actually captured Brian Flynn in Belfast. He had him in a cell. He could have put him away for the rest of his life.
But he just opens door.
He opens the door and lets him go. He's practicing a concept called using an agent provocateur, but on this grand international scale. He calls it grabbing a tiger by the tail. He knows Flynn is a walking time bomb.
So his thinking is, if I let this tiger go...
And pointed toward America, it will do something horrible.
That seems incredibly counterintuitive. Why would a British intelligence officer want an Irish terrorist to commit an atrocity in America?
It's all cold-blooded geopolitics. At the time this is set, a huge amount of funding for the IRA was coming from sympathetic Irish Americans, NORAID, the collection jars and bars in Boston and New York. The sentiment in the U.S. was very pro-Irish.
And Martin wants to kill that sentiment.
He wants to shatter it. He wants Flynn to do something so public, so sacrilegious, so awful, that the American public completely turns its back on the Irish cause forever. He wants to cut off the money and the political support at the source.
So Flynn thinks he's this legendary warrior king, but in reality, he's just a pawn in a British intelligence PR campaign.
That's it exactly. Martin is sitting in his cushy office in Rockefeller Center, literally overlooking the cathedral, just sipping brandy and waiting for the show to start.
And he knows people are going to die.
He absolutely does. He knows Sir Harold Baxter might be killed.
Yeah.
And he just doesn't care. As long as Flynn destroys the romantic image of the Irish freedom fighter, Major Martin wins. It's just, it's chilling.
It is. Okay, so let's fast forward. Back to New York. Flynn has his hand-picked team. He has his master plan. But how? How do you actually get a paramilitary squad armed to the teeth into St. Patrick's Cathedral on St. Patrick's Day without anyone noticing? You can't just walk in with rifles.
No, you hide in plain sight. And this part of the plan is, you have to admit, it's genius. Flynn understands the psychology of crowds and, more importantly, the psychology of New York City. You don't break in. You just, you blend in.
Let's break down some of these disguises because they're perfect. Flynn himself walks right in the front door, past the police.
Dressed as a priest, a visiting priest, simple black suit, a collar, a somber expression. On St. Patrick's Day, that cathedral is absolutely swarming with clergy from all over the world. A priest in the vestibule is completely invisible.
No one's going to pat down a priest.
No cop is going to stop him. He just belongs there.
Okay, then you have John Hickey. He's the explosives guy, right? The old veteran.
Hickey's disguise is maybe the most brilliant and terrifying of all. He dresses as a homeless man. He's got layers of filthy clothes. He smells bad. He's stumbling. He walks into the cathedral, finds an empty pew way in the back, curls up, and pretends to go to sleep.
And in 1980s New York, a homeless man sleeping in a church is...
He's furniture. He is part of the scenery. The police, the ushers, the tourists, they all look right through him. They actively avoid making eye contact.
So he's using the city's own apathy and discomfort as his cover.
Precisely. And while everyone is studiously ignoring the bum, he's pulling bricks of C4 explosive out of his grimy coat and calmly rigging the pews and the doors.
Incredible. Then there's another guy, Frank Gallagher.
He goes the complete opposite direction on the social scale. He dresses up as a parade marshal.
Oh, very official.
Very official. He's got the morning coat, the top hat, the green sash. He looks like he owns the place. So if he tells a cop to move, they move. If he stands by a restricted door, people just assume he's supposed to be there guarding it for the parade committee.
So they're all inside. The team is in position. Some are disguised as choir members, some as maintenance workers. The trap is set. But they can't spring it until they're sure the police can't react. They need to isolate the cathedral.
And this is where the tactical coordination is just devastatingly effective. They launched 3 separate diversions, all timed to go off at exactly 5:00 p.m., all designed to strip police resources away from Fifth Avenue and send them running all over Midtown.
Let's do them one by one. Diversion A, the reviewing stand.
This is a few blocks up at 64th Street. Somebody rolls a few grenades under the stands where all the VIPs are sitting. But they're not fragmentation grenades.
They're gas.
CS, gas tear gas, and smoke grenades.
And the smoke is green, of course.
It has to be green. And it causes absolute mayhem. You have the mayor, the governor, the Cardinal staff, all these dignitaries choking, eyes watering, blinded. And what's the first instinct of any police officer in that situation?
Protect the VIPs.
Exactly. So every available cop in the area rushes uptown, away from the cathedral, to deal with the attack on the reviewing stand.
Okay, that's one. Diversion B, the Orangeman. This one is just, it's so twisted.
It's pure psychological warfare. It's brilliant. Directly across the street from the cathedral, a group of men marches out of the front doors of Saks Fifth Avenue.
And they're dressed as Orangemen.
The historical Protestant rivals to the Catholic Irish.
Yeah.
And they're not just marching. They are singing.
The sash my father wore.
And they're chanting things like a rope to hang the Pope. Now, to an average American tourist, that might just sound like a weird song. But to the thousands of Irish Americans in that crowd,
It's a declaration of war. It's the ultimate insult to their heritage, their religion, their entire history.
and the crowd just erupts. Instantaneously, they attack the Orangemen. The police, who are already stretched thin, now have to dive into the middle of this massive street brawl to stop what is about to become a lynching.
But the twist is, they're not real Orangemen.
Not at all. They're just guys Flynn hired. Provo recruits from Boston. They're actors, paid to start a riot.
Yeah.
And it works perfectly. Now you have a full-blown riot happening on the cathedral's front steps, and the cops are fighting the crowd instead of watching the church.
So the police are scattered, they're distracted, and then comes the final nail in the coffin. Diversion C.
The electronic nail. Flynn's team had planted a powerful radio transmitter in one of the cathedral's bell towers. At the stroke of 5.0, it activates, and it jams all police radio frequencies in Midtown Manhattan.
Total silence.
Total chaos.
Yeah.
The police command van tries to call for backup. Static. A beat cop tries to report the riot. Static. The entire chain of command is severed in an instant. The cathedral is now a physical and electronic island. The NYPD is deaf, blind, and very, very busy.
And that is the precise moment that Brian Flynn, dressed as a priest, walks to the pulpit.
It's dead quiet inside the cathedral. Mass has just ended. Flynn steps up to the microphone. He doesn't scream. He doesn't wave a gun around, not yet. He just leans in and says, very calmly, "Please evacuate the cathedral. There appears to be a small fire in the basement."
It's so smart. I mean, if he had yelled, "This is a hijacking," you'd have a stampede, people would be trampled, he'd lose all control.
Exactly. He doesn't want panic. He wants an orderly exit. He wants to filter out the thousands of people he doesn't need so he can isolate the 4 people that he does.
So the congregation just files out, a little annoyed maybe, but calm. And as the church empties, the rest of the Fenians move to the door.
They're bronze doors.
The door. Let's talk about them for a second.
I mean, they're massive, 10,000 pounds each. They're beautiful works of art. But physically, they are shields. They're fortress gates. Once those doors are closed and bolted from the inside, you're not getting through them without a tank or a battering ram.
And there's this heartbreaking, desperate scene on the steps as they're closing. The police are finally realizing something is wrong. You have this character, Lieutenant Patrick Burke, and a mounted officer, a woman named Betty Foster.
They see the doors swinging shut. They see the men dressed as priests are not acting like priests. It's that split-second moment of horrible realization. Brooks starts yelling, and they try to charge up the steps. Officer Foster actually rides her horse.
Commissioner,
Right.
Oh.
She rides Commissioner up the stone steps of the cathedral to try and wedge the animal's body in the doorway to keep it from closing.
And then Megan Fitzgerald steps out.
Megan, one of the young, fanatical Fenians. She's dressed as a nun. She looks young, innocent. She steps into the vestibule. She pulls a handgun from the folds of her habit, and she shoots the horse. Point blank in the chest. The horse goes down screaming. It blocks the charge. It's just this shocking, brutal moment of violence. A nun killing a police horse on the steps of St. Patrick's. It's the signal to the reader and to the police that the normal rules of the world do not apply here anymore.
And the doors slam shut. You just hear this massive clang. The bolts slide home.
And just like that, the siege begins. The cathedral is sealed.
Inside, the trap is now fully sprung. Most of the congregation is out, but the targets. The targets are all secured in the sanctuary. Let's look at the dynamic in there. First, you have the Cardinal.
He's incredibly stoic. He actually had a chance to run. One of the other priests tried to pull him out a side door, but he refused to go. He just sits in his gilded chair, still in his vestments. His attitude is, if his cathedral is being taken, he's going down with the ship. It's a very dignified, very old-school kind of courage.
Then you've got Sir Harold Baxter.
The Englishman. He's absolutely terrified, but he's trying desperately to maintain that British stiff upper lip. He knows he is the primary political target. He represents the oppressor to these men.
And then Maureen Malone.
She is the emotional lightning rod of the whole room. When Flynn reveals himself, takes off the priestly vestments, shows the gun under his coat, the entire dynamic shifts in an instant. He isn't a terrorist to her. He's Brian.
The man she loved.
The man she slept with. The man she ran with. And she sees that big, ugly ring on his finger, the Finn McCumel ring. And she knows. She knows exactly how far gone he is, how insane this is about to get.
And at the same time, Hickey, the homeless man, he stands up from his pew.
He just sheds the act completely. He reveals himself as Dermot, which is his code name, And he's the one who delivers the ultimatum to the hostages. He tells them the doors are mined with enough C4 to blow them across Fifth Avenue. He says the cathedral is now a funeral pyre, and if the police so much as touch those doors, everyone inside dies.
So now we have a fortress. This is part 4 of our dive. We really need to understand the geography of this defense because it is brutal.
It's a kill box. It's designed to be a perfect kill box. The layout of the cathedral is a classic cross shape. You have the main floor, the nave where the pews are, and then above that, running along the high walls, you have the triforiums.
These narrow walkways way up in the air.
Exactly. And at the back, overlooking everything, you have the choir loft.
They have the high ground?
The ultimate high ground. The Fenians control the triforiums on both sides and the loft at the back. What that means is that anyone who walks onto the marble floor of the sanctuary is completely exposed. They could be shot from 3 different angles at once. It's a classic crossfire setup. There's no cover.
And they have a dedicated sniper.
Oh, yeah. Jack Leary. This guy is the boogeyman in the rafters. He's not an Irish patriot. He's an American, a Vietnam vet, a pure mercenary. They call him the Angel of Death.
What's his motivation? Is it just the money?
It's the money, but it's also the craft. The book describes his muscle memory, his almost inhuman calm. He doesn't have the emotional baggage that Flynn has. He couldn't care less about a united Ireland. He is there to shoot targets when he's told to shoot them.
He's the fail-safe.
He's the ultimate fail-safe. Flynn tells the rest of the team that if any of them waver, or if the police manage to break in, Leary has standing orders to kill the hostages first, and then kill any of the Fenians to prevent them from being captured.
He's the Grim Reaper sitting up there by the organ pipes.
That's a perfect description. He's just looking through a high-powered scope, watching every twitch the hostages make.
Then you've got Megan Fitzgerald, the nun who shot the horse.
She's a fascinating character. She rips off the nun's habit, and underneath she's wearing blue jeans and an I Love New York t-shirt.
The irony.
It's such a jarring visual. She's young, she's a true believer, she's fanatical, and she absolutely despises Maureen. She sees Maureen as a traitor, a coward who abandoned the cause. There's this immediate vicious tension between them. Megan wants to kill Maureen almost more than she wants to kill the British diplomat.
And then there's George Sullivan, the bagpiper.
This is the surreal, almost dreamlike touch that DeMille adds to the scene. Sullivan is one of the guards up on the triforium, but he's playing the bagpipes. He plays the minstrel boy, this incredibly mournful Irish lament.
And the acoustics in there must be
unbelievable. The sound would be haunting and deafening. It adds this whole other layer of psychological torture for the hostages. They're being held at gunpoint to a live soundtrack of these sorrowful Irish war songs.
Okay, so they have this, what seems like a perfect defense. Mine doors, sniper coverage. They've even got firebombs ready in the attic to set the roof on fire. But there's a crack in the armor.
There always is, isn't there? One of the older Fenians, a guy named Eamon Farrell, he's doing a perimeter checkup in the northeast triforium. And he finds something. Something that is not on the cathedral blueprints they studied.
A secret passage.
Almost. He finds a hollow pillar. It's basically a chimney or a service shaft that runs uninterrupted from the sub-basement all the way up to the roof. And inside, set into the stone, are iron rungs.
A ladder, a hidden ladder.
A hidden service ladder. And the implications are immediate. It bypasses the main doors. It bypasses the explosives. It's a straight shot from the cellar right up to the sniper's perch in the rafters.
Does he tell Flynn about it?
He hesitates. He makes a mental note of it, but for the moment, he keeps it to himself. And that hesitation is so crucial. The chimney is the fatal flaw in their fortress. It is the thermal exhaust port on the Death Star. If the police find it, or if a hostage can get to it, the whole defense collapses.
Let's shift gears to the psychological standoff. The police are now massing outside, the Fenians are dug in inside, but the real drama is happening between the hostages in the sanctuary. Maureen is trying to save them.
Maureen is the only one in that group thinking like a guerrilla fighter. She knows Flynn. She knows this is not going to end with a negotiated settlement. This ends in death. And she spots the south transept doors. They're a long way from the altar, maybe not guarded as closely for a split second. She tries to convince Baxter to make a run for it with her.
And Baxter, he just refuses. Why? Is it bravery or something else?
It's complicated. He frames it as dignity. He says he lacks the vivid imagination to be scared enough to scramble like a rat. Is an aristocrat, a diplomat. The idea of running, of being shot in the back while fleeing, is somehow more humiliating to him than standing his ground and dying with honor.
But Maureen tries to scare him straight. She brings up kneecapping.
Which is such a horrific, specific threat from the Troubles. She tells him, look, these men won't just shoot you. They will shoot off your kneecaps first to cripple you, to humiliate you, and then they'll execute you. She's trying to use that visceral horror to break through his upper-class British reserve.
It doesn't work.
He won't budge. He stays put.
And while this is going on, Flynn is just enjoying it. He calls the whole thing Irish theater.
That's a key phrase he uses. He admits to Maureen that the entire siege is a performance. He looks around and says, "We are on the stage of the world." He knows the cameras are outside. He knows the news anchors are talking about them. So he taunts the Cardinal about God. He mocks Baxter about the Queen. He is performing for the global audience he knows is watching.
Speaking of the outside world, let's check back in on the police response, or the lack of a response.
It's a complete mess out there. The police command van was sideswiped by an ambulance during the chaos of the gas attack, so it's disabled. The radios are still being jammed.
Yeah.
It takes them almost an hour to even establish a proper perimeter. They're totally on the back foot, completely reactive.
But eventually, they get a line of communication open.
By sheer luck, a sergeant in the tactical patrol force named Tezik has the idea to just try calling the phone in the organ loft. It's an old landline, so the radio jamming doesn't affect it.
And Flynn answers.
Flynn picks it up, and he lays out the terms, cold as ice. The doors are mined. The roof is rigged to burn. We have the Cardinal. We have the Consul General. You back off, or we start sending them out in pieces.
And just to make sure everyone outside understands exactly who is in charge, they hang a flag.
A massive Fenian flag. The gold sunburst on a green field. They hang it from the levers at the bell tower, and it unfurls over Fifth Avenue for everyone to see. It is a territorial claim. They have planted their flag on the most famous Irish-American landmark in the entire world. It's an unbelievable slap in the face to the NYPD, to the city, to the U.S. government.
And while Flynn is playing king of the castle, we have to cut back to Major Martin. He's watching all of this unfold through a pair of binoculars from his office.
And he's sipping his brandy. This scene is it's infuriating to read. Martin is there with a colleague, and he is essentially taking a victory lap. He openly admits he's the one who pointed Flynn in this direction. He says, "Look at them. Look at the Americans. They are horrified."
He's happy about it.
He is delighted. He's already calculating that this siege will destroy NORAD funding overnight. He says that even if Sir Harold Baxter is executed on live television, it's a regrettable but acceptable cost.
He sees his own countrymen as a sacrificial lamb.
A totally acceptable loss for the greater good of British intelligence objectives. It really drives home the point that in this story, the bad guys aren't just the ones holding the guns. The guys in the expensive suits are just as lethal.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, let's just reset the board. Let's look at the state of play as night begins to fall on New York.
The sun goes down over Manhattan. The cathedral goes dark inside, lit only by the flickering votive candles. It must be incredibly spooky. Outside, the police have these massive floodlights trained on the doors, but they can't move. They're paralyzed.
And the crowd is still there.
Pushed back by barricades, but they're still there, watching. The whole world is watching on TV.
And Lieutenant Burke, the cop whose horse was killed, he's standing out there just staring at those massive sealed door.
And there's a sign. Someone has taped a handwritten sign to the bronze right over the face of a carved saint.
And it reads, "This cathedral is under the control of the Irish Fenian army."
It just perfectly captures the total inversion of the world. The holy place has become a war zone. The priest is a killer. The protector is a hostage.
And inside, in the darkness of the choir loft, Jack Leary is waiting. The kill zone is active. The slightest mistake by the police, the slightest unauthorized movement from a hostage, and the slaughter begins.
And that is where DeMille leaves us hanging at the end of this first act. The pieces are all set on the board. The tension is just absolute. And it's not just a question of who lives or who dies anymore. It's a question of whether history, that bloody ancient history that started in the crypt, is going to win out over the modern world.
It's a pretty chilling reminder that you can never really outrun the past, not even on Fifth Avenue, not even on St. Patrick's Day.
Especially on St. Patrick's Day.
That's it for this deep dive into Cathedral. We have set the stage, we've introduced the players, and now I guess I want you to think about what you would do if you were Sir Harold Baxter in that sanctuary, and Maureen Malone says, "Run with me." Would you run, or would you sit in the chair? Something to mull over. Thanks for listening.
Stay curious.